Now, you're probably familiar with my guest, Paul McGuire. You might have seen him on Fox News, O'Reilly, History Channel. I mean, one of the top viewing shows. But as a young man, you had quite a background. You were raised to hate Christians. You thought the answer was in science and the New Age. So you go out to the University of Missouri, where you're really debating Christians and you're going to put them in their place. Guess what his major was? You'll never guess, so I shouldn't have said guess. His major was altered states of consciousness. That's a major? And he's in class one day and he hears a voice. What does the voice say to you?
It was an audible voice which said, "Surrender to the dark forces within."
And what did you do about that?
I freaked out. I never heard an audible voice before, and I looked around to see if anybody had heard it.
Okay, so he's tearing these Christians apart, but their love is kind of contagious. So he goes to a retreat meeting and he says, "Oh no, they're all hypocrites. I'm leaving this place." But he doesn't have a car, so he hitchhikes. Tell me about your adventure.
Well, right after the religious retreat, which confirmed my worst suspicions about Christianity being a country club religion, the place looks like a field of dreams, the movie, the cornfields in the middle of nowhere. I stick out my thumb on the road. A Pentecostal preacher and his wife picks me up in their car. And being from New York City, I said, okay, great, we're in the cornfields, and there's probably a lot of Pentecostal preachers and their wife. They share with me the gospel of Jesus Christ.
He is the only way to heaven. He will save
Then
your soul.
they let me out on the road again. I stick out my thumb again. Within seconds, a station wagon pulls up. It's a guy in a dark three-piece suit like an undertaker. He's a Bible salesman.
Does he have many Bibles in his car?
Yes, he has, I don't know, 100 King James Bibles, you know, the big thick ones.
Oh, I know.
So he's driving down the back roads of Missouri. He lets go of the steering wheel. It looked like a 65-pound King James Bible. He's looking at me, not the freeway, and he's preaching. And he gets right down to it. He says, "Did you know that you're a sinner and that if you don't accept Jesus Christ into your life, you're going to go to hell? And you need to be born again?" I mean, that basically was it. I'm from New York. I didn't even believe in the word sin. That was an archaic concept. And he says, you want to pull up the road and say the sinner's prayer? And I said, yeah. But inside my mind, I'm going, great. He's a religious axe murderer pervert. He's gonna chop my head off before he does whatever, and bury me in the bushes and say a couple of prayers over me. So I prayed with him. It was a real short prayer. Jesus Christ, I ask you to forgive me for my sins. I ask you to come into my life and make me born again. So I forgot about it.
So then a few days later, he's in New York. He's at a place called the Lambs Club. Briefly, what occurred?
Well, what happened was I was discussing my experience with people who had been witnessing to me. And as I was sharing this hitchhiking experience, a girl who we had never met before came over to me and said, "I couldn't help but overhearing your conversation." She said, "I'm a minister's daughter. I was wrestling with these same questions as Jesus Lord. And for some reason, she looks right at me and she says, 'Do you believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God?' And I'd never said this before, but the words blurted out of me, 'I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God.' At that moment, the sky cracked open and I saw God, not in a physical sense, but a spiritual sense. And I knew instantaneously that all the cosmic consciousness, astral projection, altered states of consciousness, all that stuff was illusions and false, and I knew that Jesus Christ was the Son of God instantaneously.
That is God. Now, what happens next is so amazing because he then devotes his life to studying prophecy and studying what's going on in the world. And then God starts giving him supernatural dreams to direct his research. Tell me a few things you found out about the one world currency.
Well, first of all, I do a tremendous amount of research from mainstream sources. It has to be documented, it has to be credible. Number two is I study Bible prophecy and the Old Testament and New Testament. But the third component is I do research where the Holy Spirit leads me and guides me into specific areas of research. So as I'm researching this, I noticed that in the Old Testament, the Tower of Babel, or Babylon, is the world's first one world government, one world religion, one world economic system. That's clue one. Then I get into Revelation 13 and I read about the one world government, the one world economic system, one world religion, the false prophet, the religious false prophet, and the Antichrist. And then I see that in Revelation, it talks about a global government and a global economic system. And you can't buy or sell without getting the mark of the beast. And then I realized that everything that was predicted 2,000 years ago is coming to life in this world now, even as we speak.